to explain what we have discussed is the situation in the Middle East. And you know that we do not have written conclusions on the Middle East, but we had once again an in-depth exchange of views on the situation in that region. Et je voudrais tenter de vous résumer les lignes de force du Conseil européen sur ce sujet. Le premier point, nous sommes extrêmement déterminés à continuer en Européens, mais également avec le soutien de l'ensemble des États membres, à être actifs pour réduire autant que possible les risques d'escalade régionale, c'est l'enjeu de la sécurité, et spécialement en mer Rouge. Nous savons à quel point cet enjeu est extrêmement essentiel. Le deuxième point, nous sommes évidemment tout à fait déterminés à continuer à plaider avec force, sans relâche, pour la libération des otages, et cela sans condition. Et enfin, nous sommes déterminés à continuer à œuvrer en partenariat avec les États membres, mais aussi avec nos partenaires sur le plan international, afin que l'aide humanitaire puisse être délivrée à Gaza. Nous mesurons bien qu'il y a un besoin qui est extrêmement sérieux et extrêmement urgent sur ce sujet. Chaque vie civile compte, et c'est pour cette raison que nous devons être très mobilisés. Et enfin, le troisième point que je souhaiterais mentionner, parce qu'il y avait sur ce sujet également une convergence politique très forte au sein du Conseil européen, c'est l'extrême importance de relancer le processus de négociation pour la solution à deux États. Nous avons eu l'occasion de réaffirmer avec force cette exigence de la solution à deux États qui doit garantir le droit à l'existence et le droit à la sécurité d'Israël, qui doit aussi garantir que deux peuples puissent vivre en coexistence, en paix et en sécurité, ce qui doit supposer qu'il puisse y avoir des accords de paix, pas seulement entre Israël et Palestine, mais également entre Israël et l'ensemble des pays voisins. Nous avons également discuté les paramètres et les éléments mis en avant par le haut représentant Josep Borrell dans le cadre de cette idée d'initier avec d'autres partenaires et acteurs une conférence de paix. Et il est certain que nous reviendrons encore d'un prochain Conseil européen sur ce sujet et que nos ministres vont continuer à être très engagés sur ce sujet extrêmement important. Enfin, un dernier mot. Nous nous réunissons dans un moment où, dans un certain nombre de nos pays européens, y compris en Belgique, et cela se voit, y compris autour de ce bâtiment, nos agriculteurs manifestent de la colère, manifestent du mécontentement, manifestent des inquiétudes pour leur avenir. Ils ont un moment tel que celui-là, il est important que les leaders aient l'occasion d'adresser ce sujet, ce que nous avons fait, de réaffirmer non seulement notre attachement à la politique agricole commune, qui est un des piliers importants du projet européen, mais au-delà de l'attachement, nous considérons qu'il y a un rôle essentiel pour cette politique agricole commune. La présidente de la Commission a pu nous informer concernant des premières mesures de court terme qui ont été prises, mais également un processus qui a été lancé pour réunir des acteurs de la filière agroalimentaire, y compris les agriculteurs, afin de préparer dans le processus démocratique européen, au travers d'un souci d'écoute, au travers d'un souci de participation, de préparer la manière dont, à l'avenir, on va continuer à faire évoluer la politique agricole commune pour qu'elle soit le plus possible en phase avec les besoins pour nos agriculteurs, mais aussi les besoins en termes de souveraineté alimentaire, en termes de santé, en termes de capacité de traiter les différentes facettes qui touchent à ce secteur économique qui est extrêmement important pour notre avenir à chacune et à chacun. Voilà quelques éléments de présentation des points majeurs dans le cadre de cette réunion qui a montré une fois encore la capacité du Conseil européen à surprendre positivement par notre unité et par notre capacité à délibérer de manière rapide sur des sujets difficiles grâce à la préparation qui avait pu être déployée avec l'ensemble des équipes tout au long des semaines précédentes, et ça depuis le mois de décembre et depuis le jour qui a suivi le dernier Conseil européen au cours duquel nous avions décidé de convoquer ce Conseil extraordinaire afin de finaliser les décisions et de lancer ce message non seulement à l'Ukraine mais aussi aux citoyens européens et à nos partenaires dans le monde.
Thank you, President. President von der Leyen, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Today is indeed a very special day. The European Council reconfirmed Europe's unwavering commitment to stand with Ukraine. We all know that Ukraine is fighting for us, so we will support them with the necessary funding and provide them with the much-needed predictability they deserve. And I think these 50 billion euros for 4 years also send a very strong message to Putin, just ahead of the second anniversary of his brutal invasion. But today we also agreed on the first ever revision of our multi-annual budget. It confirms the priorities that the Commission has presented back in June. And I'm very satisfied that we got 80% of the funding we asked for. We had certainly some difficult choices to make, but we have a very good result. We reaffirmed our commitment to fight illegal migration. We reaffirmed our commitment to support our Western Balkan partners. This is the part of the growth plan that is in that budget, and the southern neighbourhood. We will also increase our ability to deal with natural disasters in member states and humanitarian crises such as Gaza. And furthermore, STEP will support the much-needed development of critical technologies in Europe, including on defence, and increase our competitiveness. So with this agreement, Europe stands united and is well equipped for the challenges ahead. In other words, today Europe got stronger. We will also continue to support the brave Ukrainian armed forces to fight off the brutal invaders. Our military assistance to Ukraine has met an unprecedented level of effort. So far, the European Union and its member states have mobilised 28 billion euros worth of military equipment. And of course more is coming, and of course more is needed. More tanks, helicopters, air defence systems, missiles, and of course more ammunition. The European defence industry, has already increased its production capacity by 40%, and this is still growing. Over 80 European manufacturers have responded to our call for proposals, so we will be signing the contracts in a matter of weeks. And we're working with the member states to get that ammunition to Ukraine, be it from the national stocks, or be it by diverting other orders, or making new orders, as I've just described. We will have delivered 520,000 rounds of artillery shell by March, and we will more than double this amount by the end of this year. On top of that, we have been training Ukrainian soldiers, 40,500 so far mid-February. But this support must increase, and that was the discussion today. In fact, Russia's invasion has also been a wake-up call for the whole of the European Union. So while we keep supporting Ukraine, we need to bolster our own military capacities too. We're working to take our defence industry to the next level, and this is why the Commission will soon present a new defence industrial strategy. It will introduce a stronger European dimension across our defence industry, and this goes from planning to procurement, will have a greater coherence and coordination at the European Union's level. With this strategy, we aim to make Europe move from the emergency response to a defence readiness. Let me add a few words on the discussion on agriculture. Farmers play an essential role in Europe's economy and society, and their work contributes greatly to our food security and indeed also to our way of life. And they are key actors in ensuring the sustainable use of natural resources. They live with nature and from nature. It is, after all, the basis of their livelihoods and thus also the basis of our livelihood. European farmers are dynamic. In 2022, productivity improved 13% thanks to their efforts. And they also contribute positively to our external trade. Last year, again, agri-food exports increased by 5%. So I think it is fair to say that our farmers have shown remarkable resilience in the face of the recent crisis. But many challenges remain. For example, the tension on prices, agri-food prices, or a very competitive global market that leads to uncertainty, and of course the need to remain competitive while working to high standards and environmental protection, a very complex endeavour. The farmers can count on European support. The Common Agricultural Policy budget allocates close to 390 billion euros. That is almost 1/3 of the European budget to agriculture. And in 2023 alone, Europe provided exceptional assistance of over 500 million euros to farmers most affected by crisis. We know that this support is crucial, and we know that farmers are making good use of it. But in parallel, the Commission is now working closely with the Member States to address the immediate challenges. This week, for example, we have proposed additional flexibility to farmers on the so-called fallow land use. And we have proposed safeguards on poultry, eggs and sugar imports from Ukraine to avoid a significant surge in imports. Finally, of course, we have to defend legitimate interests of farmers in our trade negotiations, in particular in ensuring a level playing field in terms of standards when we have trade agreements. And I'm very sensitive to the message that farmers are concerned by administrative burden. This is a general topic. You know that this is close to my heart, to reduce these administrative burdens. So we will work with the Belgian presidency on a proposal that we then will present ready in time before the next Agricultural Council to work on reducing these administrative burdens. Last, but certainly not least, it's the long-term, mid- and long-term proposal. As you know, we have started last week the strategic dialogue on the future of agriculture in the European Union. In other words, we have convened all the different stakeholders, of course the farmers' representatives, the young farmers, but also the food processors, those who work in environmental NGOs, Greenpeace, other stakeholders in the whole overall agricultural topic. The aim is that together we develop an idea, a vision and a roadmap how to reach our common goals. It was very reassuring to hear that all stand behind the common goal to reach climate neutrality by 2050. But how to get there? This has to be developed with the farmers, with their knowledge, because they have many ideas that are very interesting to move forward on this topic. So this was also a strategic dialogue that we started last week, but of course it will bring the answers in the mid and long term that will feed in the program of the next Commission and certainly have an influence on the next negotiations on the CAP.
Thank you, President. We will open now the floor to questions. We'll start with Lawrence.
Thanks very much. Lawrence Norman at the Wall Street Journal. I have two questions. One, a slightly technical one. Is the plan for the 50 billion in the short term to continue to give Ukraine 1.5 billion a month? And if the US doesn't provide the assistance that it's trying to get through Congress, what would it take to increase that amount? And secondly, a political question. At a time when there are multiple global crises and Europe faces all kinds of challenge, do you and the other EU leaders share what Donald Tusk called this morning Orban fatigue?
You want me to start?
Please.
Okay, so indeed, the 50 billion package is not evenly distributed over 4 years, but we have the flexibility within this package to distribute the money as it is needed and best allocated. No decision has been taken in detail so far, but it's not a rigid delivery, but in itself a flexible budget. Well, and the second question I think I leave to you.
I understand better why you wanted to ask first, to reply first. No, thank you. And I would like to tell you that I'm absolutely convinced that the role of the European Council is to try to be the guardian of the European unity. And it's challenging. It's not always easy. Sometimes it requires a lot of effort. But look, in December, we took everyone by surprise because we were able in December to make fundamental decisions in order to open negotiations with Ukraine and with Moldova. And we had an agreement with 26 countries on 27 on what we call the nego box, the proposal of budgetary review. And I'm extremely pleased that once again we succeeded to guarantee the unity of the European Union and to make sure that 27 countries made an agreement on the review of the multi-annual framework, including this very strong political signal that we sent to Ukraine with this package of 50 billion euros. And for what you asked about the United States, I repeat once again that I'm absolutely convinced that this decision is also a signal to the American taxpayers. This is a demonstration that within the EU we assume we take our responsibility and we know that we must show our leadership and we must show that we are reliable, that we are credible. And I hope that it will be also help those in the United States to be those who are determined to get concrete results in terms of additional financial support for Ukraine, and not only in the United States, because we have many like-minded partners across the world.
Grazie.
Thank you. My name is Razia Akoch, work for Agence France Presse, AFP news agency. I wanted to ask, because of some of the comments that Orban had made, did Mr. Orban receive any assurances or guarantees that funds would be unlocked? Did he get anything? And this is a question for both of you.
Moi, je veux être extrêmement clair. Nous avons eu un débat sur le cadre financier pluriannuel. On a eu un débat pour confirmer l'accord qui a été conclu à 26 sur l'ensemble du paquet qui avait été proposé, avec des fonds pour l'Ukraine, 50 milliards, et des fonds, cela a été dit, pour les questions de migration, de Balkans occidentaux ou de solidarité en cas de catastrophe naturelle, parmi les sujets qui ont été traités. C'est un premier point. Et vous verrez dans les conclusions, et comme ça j'explique avec beaucoup de transparence la dynamique du Conseil européen, vous verrez dans les conclusions, nous avons aussi rappelé nos conclusions de 2020, qui sont les conclusions au départ desquelles on a considéré que la Commission avait une responsabilité pour mettre en œuvre les principes liés à l'octroi des fonds. Et donc ces principes sont simplement le rappel de principes qui avaient été agréés en décembre 2020, et nous faisons confiance à la Commission européenne pour faire les appréciations en fonction des progrès qui sont réalisés. Je pense que cette réunion a été aussi une réunion importante pour travailler sur la confiance. Et je pense que quand on réussit à avoir un accord avec les 27 chefs d'État et de gouvernement, c'est chaque fois la démonstration qu'il y a une confiance suffisante autour de la table pour avancer dans la même direction, même si au point de départ, il peut y avoir des sentiments ou des sensibilités différentes, comme on l'avait vu au mois de décembre. Puis au mois de décembre, on avait une confiance très grande avec un support à 26, mais il fallait encore convaincre un 27e État membre de se joindre à l'accord qui était proposé sur le cadre financier, en ce compris sur les fonds pour l'Ukraine. Et vous avez vu aussi que l'on a veillé à ce qu'il y ait un débat régulier, en tout cas un débat annuel sur la question des financements et de la facilité pour l'Ukraine, avec la faculté, dans le cadre de ce débat, d'inviter la Commission à faire des propositions le moment venu. Et vous verrez ça dans le détail des conclusions qui ont été diffusées.
So the story is very simple. There is a law. There's a law on cohesion funds, there is a law on Next Generation EU, and there is a law on the conditionality mechanism. And these laws have nothing to do with the Ukraine facility and the mid-term review. This was reassured today, and therefore the answer to your question is a simple no.
Thank you, President. Robert.
Thank you very much. Robert Lupițu, Calea Europeană, Romanian Media. Two questions, the first one for President Michel. While thanking and feeling grateful for the support that he has gained from the European Union, President Zelensky also fears that if the United States will not be able to support further, then maybe Europe will follow the same trace. After this deal today, do you think that the European Union can and will be able to support Ukraine, whether and if the United States will not be able to do it in the near term or after the November elections? And for President von der Leyen, a question on migration and Schengen. One of the ideas that came through after this reshuffle of the budget, we have 2 extra billion euros for migration and border management, a request from the Austrian government. Do you feel that it's a good step and enough in order to ensure the full joining of Romania and Bulgaria in Schengen with also the land borders? Thank you.
I would like to affirm that we are absolutely determined to support Ukraine, and the decision that we made today is one additional proof of that. We are extremely determined to support Ukraine because we understand very well what's at stake. And I repeat again that we know that the Ukrainians are fighting for their own future, they are fighting for their children, they are fighting for the democratic principles, they are also fighting for our democratic principles, they are fighting for the rule of law, for the international law, for the UN Charter, for all those principles we strongly believe in, and is the DNA of this European Union's project. That's why there is a strong support for Ukraine, not only with money. This was an important decision made today, but also with military equipment and with political support. And this is the enlargement process, which is a clear signal that you are not intimidated by the Russian behavior and by the Kremlin's behavior. I cannot talk on behalf of the United States, but I am confident that this decision that you have made today will help in the United States those who are determined to support Ukraine for as long as it takes.
As you know, the Commission is since years convinced that Romania and Bulgaria are ready for Schengen. And it was very helpful that in the last month we have had several projects funded by the European Union to strengthen the border in Romania and Bulgaria, also the processes at the border, and that we had fact-finding missions that were convincing for the first steps now that were done by Austria concerning Schengen, air and sea. And I'm deeply convinced, and you can count on us, that we will continue with strengthening the border and convincing Austria that this is a full-fledged achievement by Romania and Bulgaria that deserves the being in Schengen fully. And indeed, I think we have proven today by these 50 billion euros that we stand by Ukraine. And I think it will be an encouragement for the United States also to do their fair share.
Take the last question, David.
Thank you. Thank you, David Carretta, Radio Radicale Italian Radio. A question on Ukraine, but on the other issue, the debate on deliveries of weapons and so on, ammunition. Today, President Zelensky, in his speech, asked for 20 billion, 5 billion per year for 4 years. In the conclusion of the European Council, there is no figures. In the draft, there was one figure of 5 billion. Are you ready to go full in support of Ukraine? We have seen more and more critical messages from Kiev, for example, on the fact that Europe is not doing what is saying it wants to do. And the second question on Ukraine to the President of the Commission, when you say prioritizing ammunition contracts, what do you mean? Are you ready to do what you have done with vaccines, for example? So blocking deliveries to third country because Ukraine is the priority or not? Si je peux une question en français pour honorer la langue de Molière et les agriculteurs qui sont dehors. Dans la révision du budget, vous coupez 1,2 milliard de la politique agricole commune et de la politique de cohésion. Est-ce qu'il n'y a pas une contradiction quand vous dites on veut une PAC différente ou plus plus proche des agriculteurs. Et après, la décision qu'on prend, c'est de couper le budget européen. Pas seulement ça, il y a Horizon, il y a beaucoup de choses que vous coupez. Donc il n'y a pas un message négatif. Merci.
Là, je vais commencer à répondre, si Ursula me le permet, sur la dernière, je commence par la deuxième question que vous posez. Il n'est pas juste de dire que l'on coupe. C'est l'inverse. On met plus de moyens. On ne met pas autant de moyens que ce n'était la proposition de la Commission européenne, c'est vrai. Mais par rapport au cadre financier actuel, on augmente les moyens. C'est important de mettre en évidence parce que j'ai souvent lu qu'on expliquait que l'on coupait, que le Conseil, les États membres. C'est le contraire de la vérité. On augmente significativement les moyens. Pas autant que la Commission ne l'aurait souhaité. C'est normal, la Commission ait davantage d'ambition, de capacité financière, mais donc on augmente les moyens, premier élément. Et s'agissant de la question de la cohésion, par exemple, c'est un bel exemple. Les montants que vous identifiez, c'est de mémoire 1 milliard ou 1,5 milliard pour la politique de cohésion, par exemple, ce ne sont pas des montants qui vont vers les politique en termes de soutien indirect aux États membres des acteurs. Ce sont les éléments administratifs liés à la gestion des fonds de cohésion dont il s'agit ici. Ça, c'est pour la technicité concernant votre deuxième question. Sur le premier sujet, il est essentiel. The first topic is fundamental. And I can tell you that in preparation of that meeting and during the meeting, we felt how the leaders, they are aware, they are conscious that this is fundamental to deliver and to deliver on our promises. And you remember that a few months ago, we made the promise. We committed to deliver 1 million ammunition by the end of the year. We need to speed up, we need to accelerate, and we need to identify what are the reasons for us to be too slow in our deliveries. And you, in your question, you mentioned an important topic, and I had the occasion in the meeting to draw the attention of the colleagues on the topic. This is the question of the exports to third countries. And here, based on my understanding, this is a responsibility at the national level to allow the companies to export to third countries. This is one possible tool, one possible leverage. This is a national responsibility, point one. But there are some other elements. We need also to see with the companies, with the defense companies, if we can adapt some orders, if we can try also to identify how we can speed up the production, to be able to deliver more quickly to the Ukraine. But we had a good discussion on that. We were very operational, and I can tell you this is also a debate we had in close coordination with the High Representative, who is playing a very important role to try to coordinate the ministers of defense so that there is a clear clarity among the member states who is doing what and what can we do to be more effective in that field. And finally, you said 5 billion on a yearly basis or 20 billion on a multi-annual basis for the European Peace Facility. This is not in the text. Yes, in fact, this is subtle, but this is in the text because we refer in the text of the conclusions to the proposal on the table. And the proposal on the table is this 5 billion on a yearly basis and 20 in total. But what's the most important thing? The member states, and this is very legitimate, they would like to work in parallel on the numbers and on the modalities. And probably the direction we should take, in my opinion, for the European Peace Facility is the following. We should shift from a reimbursement mechanism, and when we started, it was a more reimbursement approach that we have put in place for obvious reasons to be very quick and to be very efficient, towards an approach more based on common procurements and support for the European defence industry. And it's exactly what we are discussing with the member states. There's a proposal put on the table by the High Representative and by the Commission, and it was very interesting to observe that the member states would like to be actively part of those debates by making suggestions to improve this reform, this decision-making process, and at the end to have a strong tool in addition with the bilateral efforts that are made by the member states to support Ukraine with more military equipment.
Yeah, I think almost everything has been said. So just wanted to remind that is this famous three-track approach that has been weeks ago proposed by the Commission and agreed by the European Council. So within this frame, all these activities take place.
Thank you for attending.